Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is John Campea. On this Saturday evening, doing a little bit of John Campea After Dark, the channel where we talk about premarital sex with one or multiple partners, where we talk about, I don't know, I lost my train of thought already. How you doing, guys? Good to have you here. I had some time this evening. Ann and I have plans for later in the evening, but she's off doing some homework. My wife is getting ready to go back to school again. And for those of you wondering, John, does she not already have 4 degrees? Yes, she does, including 2 master's degrees. But she's decided she wants the doctorate. She decided she wants to be Dr. Ann. So, she's off doing some prep work and whatever for schooling that will start sometime in the new year. And I am currently trying to figure out a way to pay for all this. But hey, I'll be able to say I'm married to a doctor. Well, not a medical doctor, but, she's going to have her doctorate. But anyway, listen, one of the things that I love about my wife, one of the things that attracted me to my wife, Anne, right away, is that she is a woman of ambition and a woman of focus, hyper intelligent, super driven, super focused. Like, these are all things that I find not just attractive in a partner or attractive in a woman. These are things I find attractive in people. You know what I mean? Focus, drive, ambition, determination, discipline. And my wife has all of that while also being the dungeon master of our Dungeons and Dragons group, and being a big UFC fan and a big comic book nerd. And I score it. I'm punching out of my weight class, as they would say. Anyway, that's kind of been my day. How are you guys doing? Good to hear you guys. What are you guys saying about Mike? Is there something wrong with the microphone? Confession Deception is saying that there's something wrong with the mic. But everybody else seems to be able to hear me okay, so that's good. Anyway, good to have you guys here. And, listen, whether you call it Ask Me Anything, or whether you call it After Dark, or whether you call it Open Mic, it's just, we're here to talk about the things you guys want to talk about. And I'm glad you're here to hang out with me on a Saturday night. So let's do that. Let's hear from you guys and hear what you guys want to talk about. So let's go over. And then, once we get through all the super chat questions that you guys sent in, then we're going to go over and we'll just take some regular questions from the regular live chat. Jasperin is asking in live chat, where are the dancers? Yeah, I said a long time ago that at some point, for at least one episode of After Dark, I'm going to hire some go-go dancers. Not strippers. I never said strippers, but like go-go dancers that'll have some lo-fi beats playing in the background. They'll just dance to the music in the background for one episode of After Dark. That could be kind of fun. Anyway, let's get on to it now. Hello to everybody, a fan of Peanuts, Merle, Novak, Matt, Confessions, all of you guys who are here, thank you for joining me. And let's get into it, shall we? We're going to start things off here with Eddie Burton, who writes, one of two. So, one reason they brought Affleck back for Aquaman 2 was because it was coming out before The Flash, and it wouldn't have made sense for Keaton to be in it before the events of The Flash. We'll talk about that in a second. Part 2 of 2. Not to say that they have anything to do with the delays, but now that Aquaman comes out before The Flash and the cancellation of Batgirl, are they changing the plans to make Keaton the Nick Fury of the DCEU? All right. First things first, Eddie, and I'm glad you brought this up, and thank you for writing that in, Eddie. I appreciate that. But I'm glad you brought this up because this allows me to address something. So let's start with what you said here. You said one of the reasons they brought back Affleck for Aquaman 2 was because it was coming out before Flash, and it wouldn't have made sense for Keaton to be in the Flash. Okay. So here's the thing. This is something I call the fan circle Mandela effect. Now, you guys know what the Mandela effect is, right? Like it's the effect where it's this phenomenon when a whole group of people remember something a certain way, even though that's not the way it was, right? It's a phenomenon that they call the Mandela effect. And I'm probably not even describing it great. But what I call the fan circle Mandela effect is this, is when a rumor comes out that is not substantiated or confirmed by anybody official, and yet the fan community accepts it as fact, and then we move forward. We've seen this happen a lot. Like, I've had people write into me on the show many times and write in and ask, hey, John, why did they cancel the X movie? You know, X, whatever. Hey, John, why did they cancel the X movie? They announced the X movie, and why did they cancel it? And he'd be like, well, no, they never announced the X movie. I'm not talking about the movie X. I'm just saying X as a representation of any movie you want. And I would say, no, they never officially announced an X movie. Some Gus's gas station movie reviews.fart website put out a rumor that said X movie was going to happen, but nobody from the studio ever said it. None of the real major trades, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, any of them ever confirmed it. Like, that was just a rumor that came out, but the fans hear that rumor and then we take it as a fact and then we move forward on that. So people say, why did they cancel this? So the reason I bring that up here, Eddie, is because one of the reasons that they brought in Ben Affleck was because this, and this. Well, actually, that's what the rumor of why they did it was, and that's the speculation about why they did it, but that was never confirmed or given any sort of validity by the studios themselves, if you know what I'm saying, right? It was never given any validity by the studios. So we don't know. All we do know is that Ben Affleck was there shooting, right? We do know that. That part is fact. But the rationale behind it, we don't really know. So that's just one thing I wanted to throw out there right now. The fan circle Mandela effect, if you will. But the second part of your question is interesting because you're asking, now that Aquaman comes out after Flash, and the cancellation of Batgirl, are they changing the plans to make Keaton the Nick Fury of the MCU? No, I don't believe that they are. Now, it's not an impossible thing that they could or could not do, but I really don't believe that's what they're actually doing. So, I mean, you never know. Anything's a possibility, but that would be fundamentally changing your overall plan of your entire cinematic universe over one character who used to play a role and now he's back for one or two spots. It doesn't seem like that's what they would be doing or the smart thing to do. But I'll tell you what, Eddie, you never know. You never know. All right, thanks for writing that in, man. I appreciate that very much. All right, next up, we got Jasperin who writes, my favorite movie of last year was Mugen Train. That was that anime, right? If I'm not mistaken, was that the Demon Slayer anime? I think it was. Anyway, Mugen Train. Ironically, I've watched it over 40 times since. I hope you give it a chance. It's beautiful and epic. I'll be honest with you, Jocelyn. I love that you love it. That's great. And if I remember correctly, if that is the Demon Slayer anime, which I might be completely wrong about, but if it is, it did very well. Like, it had a lot of success. So that is great for the fandom of that. But I'm not a hardcore. Like, I love some of the classics. I'm a huge fan of Space Battleship Yamato, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not generally an anime guy, so I probably will not be watching that myself. But I'm glad you loved it enough that you watched it 40 times. That's the type of fan that fandom needs, my friend. I'm glad you enjoyed it, dude. All right, next up, J Master writes, Friday night will mark a day in history as the Seattle Mariners, yes, they did, a long dream came true. The 21-year drought is over. The Mariners clinched a playoff berth. Friday was all smiles and celebration in Seattle. Listen, I have a very huge soft spot in my heart for sports fans, especially long-suffering sports fans. You know, my Toronto Maple Leafs have not made it to the Stanley Cup in my entire lifetime. The entire time I've been alive on this earth, the Toronto Maple Leafs have never even been to the Stanley Cup Finals. So I know something about long droughts. And for you guys in Seattle with such a storied and rich franchise like the Seattle Mariners, I'm super excited for you guys that you guys made the playoffs. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Daniel Vakura, who writes, if you remember, Mahershala Ali approached Feige to play Blade. It wasn't part of any plan. I think it's a great example as to why you don't let actors dictate a movie being made no matter how talented. I want to address that, Daniel. If there is no way in heaven or hell that Kevin Feige went, oh, what? An actor wants to play Blade? Well, I hadn't thought of that. I think I'm going to make a Blade movie. You shouldn't believe that for 1 second at all. Now, I totally buy that, Mahershala Ali may have been proactive and got his agent to make calls and say, hey man, I hear they're thinking about Blade. I would love to be Blade. And get that out there. I can totally believe that. I can totally believe that. But I would not believe for 1 second that, wait, Mahershala, an actor wants to play a role? Well, I wasn't going to make that movie. I guess I should make that movie now. Like, there is no way in hell that happened. Not a single chance in hell that happened. Again, like I'm saying, I believe that Mahershala Ali was proactive to get the role. I don't see any reason not to believe that. But I don't believe for a second that that Kevin Feige only did the movie because he'd heard that Mahershala Ali wanted to play Blade. That's not how professionals would conduct themselves at all. But I'll tell you what, I am. This whole Blade situation's been a mess, and you're right. Actors should never dictate what movies do or do not get made at all. It should never happen. That's how you make bad movies. But, I mean, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this can come together. This is just a great character with one of the world's greatest actors, a two-time Academy Award-winning actor. I would love to see them make this happen, but they got to get their ship in order, man. They got to get their ship in order. All right. Next up, we got Jay Master, who writes, what do you think of the news reported by the Hollywood Reporter of Sony picking up the Tarzan movie rights to bring another movie, the pulp classic created by Edgar Rice Burroughs? I would ask for why. I'll tell you for why, because Tarzan is one of the great characters of fiction of all time. He's simply one of the great characters of fiction of all time. The premise of Tarzan is so good, it's been copied 100 times that the audiences don't even realize have copied thematic themes from Tarzan in the first place. Like, it's just one of those films and stories of fiction. He's one of the most fascinating characters. I mean, a lot of the most popular films of all time have copied blatantly themes of Tarzan. So my question would be, why not? Now, they took another swing at Tarzan a bunch of years ago with Skarsgård, one of the Skarsgård's kids. I can never remember the kids' names. They're Stellan Skarsgård, and that's all that matters. But he's got several very, very talented kids. And I think Margot Robbie and Samuel L. Jackson was in that one too. And I'll tell you what, I didn't dislike that movie. I did not dislike that Tarzan movie. I thought that Tarzan movie was okay. Not very good. But just because somebody makes a movie that isn't great doesn't mean somebody else shouldn't take another swing at it sometime. So I think it's a great idea. We will talk more about that on the John Campea Show on Monday, obviously. But yeah, the question for me wouldn't be for why. My question would be, why not? It's one of the great characters in fiction. For sure, if you have a chance to get those rights to the original books, go ahead and do it, man. Anyway, that's my thoughts on J Master. Thanks for asking. All right, next up, we got Josh C. who writes, HBO's Last of Us looks incredible. Did it surprise you that the teaser didn't give us a date for when the show will air? All we know is that it comes out in 2023. I really hope it's early 2023. No, that seems to be a pattern. That seems to be the pattern. By the way, we are 14 minutes into the show, and I have not been keeping an eye on the super chats. We have way too many super chats. You guys have overflowed the super chats. So I'm going to, just so I don't do it without any warning, I'm going to turn off the super chats here in about 1 minute. If you've got a last second thing you want to throw in there, go ahead and throw it in, but then I'm going to have to shut it down. At any rate, what were we talking about again? Oh, Last of Us. I have found that it's been a basic pattern of these sorts of channels and like the streaming networks and everything to, in their first teasers or their first announcements of a show, I find that it is no longer uncommon to not actually say what the release date is. I found that to be a pretty common theme. So I was not surprised at all. I actually don't think we'll get an actual release date for Last of Us probably till like 5 or 6 weeks before it comes out. At least that's my guess. But I would think, Josh, that yes, I do believe that it will be early 2023. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like February 2023. At least that's my guess. I'm very, very excited about it. Okay. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher, who writes 1 of 3. I just started watching the Canadian show Murdoch Mysteries. My dad loves that show. It is a crime procedural set in 1890s Toronto. The main detective, Murdoch, uses quote-unquote modern forensic techniques to solve crimes like Sherlock Holmes. My only issue is that he's able to invent or repurpose whatever he needs to where his tech almost feel anachronistic. Listen, I'm not going to pretend like I watch the Murdoch Mysteries. I have sat down when I visit home. I will sit down with my dad sometimes, and he'll either have like Hallmark movies of the week on, or stuff like that. I don't know why my dad watches this stuff, or the Murdoch Mysteries. I've watched a couple of episodes of Murdoch Mysteries. It was actually pretty interesting, but I haven't watched the show enough to understand the specific criticism of it. So whatever, but I'm glad you're aware of it. I have never heard anybody else mention the Murdoch Mysteries. I've never heard anybody else mention them. So I'm glad you brought them up. Now I know my dad's not alone in watching those shows. All right. Spying Mentor 087 writes, "Hey John, love After Dark, thank you. And it is my birthday. Well, happy birthday, dude. I hope you have a fabulous day and a fabulous year ahead of you. And I'm glad you're spending some of your birthday here with us, man. Appreciate that." All right, Tom Gillard writes, "Saw Don't Worry Darling. Shockingly, I liked it." Well, listen, I've heard it's not terrible. Like it's got an okay critic. I mean, it's not, doesn't have like a horrible critic rating, right? So I wouldn't be so surprised that you liked it, Tom. Let's see. Marie Seafring writes, "Hey John, have you seen The Woman King yet?" No, but anyway. "I saw it last weekend and really enjoyed it. Solid storytelling and great acting by the entire cast. Thanks." We were going to go see it again last night. Something came up and we couldn't. We're thinking about going to see it later tonight, to going to see late. But honestly, it's one of those movies where I'm just going to have to accept I was too late. Yeah, it's crazy. This happens once in a while. Woman King is one of those movies that I saw. They did this great preview for it at CinemaCon, and I was really excited about it. Like I loved what I saw. We told you guys about it 6 months ago that this movie looks incredible, and the stuff came up the opening weekend that was coming. I wasn't able to make it to the press screening of it. Since then, I've decided I'm not going to go to press screenings anymore. But and then the opening weekend came, and I couldn't get out to the opening weekend because Anna and I were out of town, and I just never got around to it. And so now it's one of those movies that I think I'm so late to the game now, I'm just going to have to put it on the back burner, and I'll watch it whenever it's available on home video now, because it's too late for me to review it or anything like that. And there's new movies coming out. Like I want to get out and see Smile this weekend. Smile's one I definitely want to see. I want to see Bros, even though I had no interest in Bros because to me the trailers were not funny. But a few people on my staff saw it and they said they loved it. The critic reviews, the audience reviews have all been really good for it. So I got to see Smile. I got to see Bros. And unfortunately now those two have to take priority over Woman King just because I missed the boat on Woman King, unfortunately. All right. Next up, we have The Streets That Have No Name, which is actually my favorite song of all time, Where the Streets Have No Name. Happy spooky season month. To kick off, I watched Snakes on a Plane. Is it great? Nope. But it's popcorn fun, and we got Samuel Jackson's iconic line, "Get these motherfuckers." Yeah, we worked on Snakes on a Plane. As some of you know, that I used to work in the visual effects field. I was not a visual effects artist per se. I was more a client services relations, and I did a little bit of producing when I was needed to and all that kind of stuff. But one of the feature films that we worked on at the company I was at, because we were a small little Canadian company, but we got this one of the subcontracts to do a couple of the shots on Snakes on a Plane. And actually, one of the shots we did when the topless girl has the snake biting onto her nipple, that was us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Yeah, that shot was us. So I'll always think fondly of Snakes on a Plane. All right. Let's see here. What do we got next? Sam Fisher writes, "Did you finish Sandman? Final thoughts?" Oh, yeah. I did not watch the bonus episodes. I never did get around to watching the bonus episodes. I saw a few minutes of the Cat Dreams one. I'm like, this is just way out there. I really love Sandman. I thought it was great. I hope it gets a season 2. If Netflix doesn't pick it up, I'm sure somebody else will. All right. Aiden Foley writes, I've always been morbidly interested in knowing your thoughts on this. Have you ever watched the Bee Movie? Yes. An awful movie. I have some weird nostalgia for it. Oh, I get why. But no, I didn't. You know what the funny thing is? Ann and I just went to go see Jerry Seinfeld live. It was only like one of 3 shows he was doing in California, and we just saw it like 2 weeks ago. Anne has never watched Seinfeld, never seen stand-up comedy by him, and we went in to watch him. He was in rare form. He killed it. Anne was in tears all night. Like, my wife Anne was laughing so hard. She was just absolutely in tears all night, and he was so funny. So, yeah, unfortunately, though, B-movie, yeah, Eden, not so good. All right, anyway, where are we at here? Let's see. Sorry, I got to get my stuff all set up here. Okay, here we go. A fan of Peanuts writes, TLOU, part 2, I don't know what we're talking about. Please don't use acronyms, guys, is my favorite game of all time. HBO looks like they have this down so good. Most anticipated thing to HBO. So you're probably The Last of Us. You're probably talking about The Last of Us. It looks great. The storytelling in The Last of Us is the best I've ever seen in a video game. 1 and 2. Like, the pure narrative of it is breathtakingly advanced. And the trailer looks great. Now, that was just a first trailer, right? Like, we didn't get much. We don't really hear any dialogue. We don't really know what's really going on, per se. But, I mean, the trailer looked and felt great. The atmosphere they created in the trailer, and I cannot wait to watch this show, dude. I'm very, very, very excited about this show. All right. Talking Entertainment with Josie writes, you didn't have the best Regal experience, but if they put on another mystery movie Monday, would you go to it again, or was it a one and done? By the way, I liked the theater. Ann and I went to a Regal theater the other night. It was one of my first times going to a Regal theater. And it was the theater experience was a good experience. I'll go back. As far as the Mystery Monday, I don't know. I love the idea of a Mystery Monday where you buy a ticket to a movie and you don't know what movie's going to be. All you know, it's a movie that's coming out soon. So I went out there with a huge laundry list of movies I hoped it was. I mean, obviously, I most hoped it was Black Adam, but I knew it wasn't going to be that. Then I thought maybe it would be Amsterdam. I decided before we went, though, that it was going to be Smile. I thought, you know what, for sure it's going to be Smile. And it wasn't. It was the greatest beer run ever with Zac Efron and Bill Murray's in there, Russell Crowe, who's my favorite actor. And it was not a good movie. And so I'm like, okay, and it was one of those things that was also going straight to Apple Plus. So I'm like, really? So if I buy a ticket to a Mystery Monday, I'm just as likely to get a straight-to-home video movie. So I'm probably going to skip the next Regal Secret Monday. Like, if I hear that the next Regal Secret Monday is a legitimate theatrical film that's coming out, then I'll try it again in the future. But yeah, I was a little bit burned by this one. Plus, the movie was bad. I mean, that's the other thing. The movie was just bad. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, Josie. Al Renshaw writes, any special plans for during Halloween week? Going to Vegas. Ann and I, our buddy Soul, a few other friends, we have a little bit of a loose tradition. Like, we don't do it every year, but a lot of years around Halloween time, we head off to Vegas. Being in Vegas at Halloween is usually pretty fun. So there's that. We're also going to do Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. So yeah, we got a couple of good things in mind there, Al. All right, next up. Sidhu writes, Smile was a great little horror film. I'm very excited to watch it, actually. Great at building dread. Any movies like that come to mind for you? Also, Blackbird on Apple TV is phenomenal. You haven't seen Blackbird on Apple TV. And it's hard for me to compare Smile to anything when I haven't seen Smile yet myself. I'm going to see it this weekend. I'm very excited about this one. I want to see it this weekend. Just at building dread. Well, again, I just go back to a movie I often go back to, which is my second favorite horror film of all time, which is The Descent. And very soon we're going to be doing a video with Aaron Cummings and Chris Carr of watching them watching The Descent here in the John Campea Theater We're here in the John Campea Theater right now, so we're going to have them in here watching that. And I'm very, very excited about that. That should be a lot of fun. I'm glad you like Smile Man. I can't wait to see it myself. Okay. Next up, Dangerous Lee writes, John, matzo sticks with sour cream wasn't my jam, but with French onion dip, that's more like it. I could see mozzarella sticks with the French onion dip, actually. I could totally see that. I really can. But yeah, for me, I just straight up, when we're in a restaurant and we're going to get appetizers and I'm in the mood for some matzo sticks, I ask, do you guys have sour cream? Because if they don't have sour cream, I will not order matzo sticks. If they do, I say, great. Replace the side of marinara with a side of mozzarella, or with a side of mozzarella, with a side of sour cream, and we are in business, man. All right, next up, KC Mack writes, bought 2 tickets this October to some Alamo Drafthouse movie parties, one for Beetlejuice and the other for The Lost Boys. I'm debating buying one for Rocky Horror because I hear those screenings are fun. Rocky Horror screenings are a lot of fun. They are. That's a tradition. That a lot of people, it's some people's favorite movie tradition is to go to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So you should absolutely do that. Take advantage of it. Go see it and have a blast. I like those types of events that Alamo Drafthouse and some other theater chains put on. I think that's a lot of fun. So I hope you have a really good time, KC. And yes, if you're asking if I think you should get Rocky Horror, yes. If you've never seen Rocky Horror, just be prepared for the fact that you can't possibly be prepared. That's the best way I know how to put it. Okay. Let's see here. Next up, we've got Moda Awesome writes, have you seen Chip and Dale yet? It's so great. I have not seen Chip and Dale. Haven't watched it yet. Ann keeps wanting me to watch it. You guys keep wanting me to watch it. I hear nothing but fantastic things about it. So at one of these days, I will sit down and watch Chip and Dale because I keep hearing it's really, really great. All right. KC Mack writes, over under 50%, we get the second Black Panther trailer with tickets going on sale Monday. Well, I had said earlier a few days ago that I think I said Wednesday or Thursday that I thought there was a 15% chance that we would get the second Black Panther trailer on Friday, which was yesterday, and a 50% chance that we will get it by next Friday, which will be this coming Friday. So yeah, I think there's a very, very good chance we get the second Black Panther trailer this week. At least that's what I'm guessing. I have no insider information about that. I just look at, the timing of these new magazine covers are coming out, and all that usually seems to be a bit of a precursor for when a new or a first trailer is going to drop. So I have a feeling it will be this week. I give it a 50-50 chance that it'll drop this week. All right. Next up, Al Renshaw writes, when was the last time you cried / teared up during a movie? For me, it was Ryan the Last Dragon due to the fatherly relationship in the movie. I don't know when the last time was. Like I've only straight up cried. And tears coming down. I've only straight up cried like maybe 3 or 4 times in movies. Roberto Benigni's masterpiece, Life is Beautiful, is probably the hardest I ever cried in a movie. But I cried in my best friend's wedding. Yes, the Julia Roberts rom-com. I did. I cried at the end of that movie. But I get very moved emotionally by good movies, where I get, I get my lower lip maybe quivering a bit and whatever. But I can't remember the last one. Like, it may not have been that long ago, but it happens enough that I don't really keep track of it. But I could totally see why it would happen in Ryan the Last Dragon for you. I really do. All right. Next up, El Rancher writes, any updates on the Go-Go Dancers? Well, I addressed that a little bit earlier. Someday we'll make it happen. John Redcorn writes, Man Bull and El Aguilia, I don't know how to pronounce it, and She-Hulk was cringe. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I have tapped out of She-Hulk, but Anne wanted to watch it the other night, so I watched it with her, but we don't talk about it on the John Campea Show anymore. I've checked out of the show. It's just not funny. Like I've said before, I will say it again. Premise-wise and structure-wise, there's nothing wrong with that show. I love the idea for the show. I love their philosophy of the show. I love what they're going for in the show. I think all of that on paper is great. But, and you've heard me say it 100 times already, the problem with She-Hulk is that it's a comedy that's not funny. They think they're funny, but they're not funny. And of course, that's all subjective. Like, if you watch She-Hulk and it's funny for you, Awesome. That's great. I'm super happy that you're enjoying it. But it's not making me laugh. It's not even making me remotely laugh. Like, I dig the episodic nature of it. I love the little legal cases. I really love Tatiana Maslany in the role. I love the whole idea of a half-hour sitcom, kind of legal procedural, Ally McBeal, but in the MCU. I love all of that. That's great. And that's why I loved it when it first started. Like, episode 1 and episode 2, I was totally on board with. But once you get in episode 3 and 4, you're just realizing it's not funny. It's just not funny. And I get it, Manbull was supposed to be funny. But he's not. The Matador dude was supposed to be funny, but he's not. Taking off his porcupine thing that hadn't been washed and ooh, so it smells. I get it. That was supposed to be funny, but it's not. And therein lies the problem. The only problem with that show. I contend the only problem with She-Hulk. Because they do 1,000 things right. But you're not funny. And if you're a comedy and you're not funny, that's just hard to get around. So, and again, comedy's subjective. If you like it, that's awesome. I'm not trying to yuck on your yum. I'm just saying that's why I have kind of mentally checked out of the show. All right. Remember, Bulldog writes, I'm excited for Black Adam. The trailers to me look really good. Cannot wait. I'm excited for Black Adam, but I got to tell you, the trailers are not the reason why. I don't think they've done a great job with the trailers. But I am just excited for the movie regardless. I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they've been promising this movie for a really long time. I'm in. That's why when I went to go see the secret screening the other day, I was really hoping, I knew it wouldn't be, but I was really hoping it was going to be Black Adam. But unfortunately, remember, it was not. So, hey, listen, we're finally in the month that it's coming out. I hope it's good. I really, really hope it's good. Okay, next up. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, Prey, now Hellraiser. Terminator for Hulu next? Maybe. I mean, listen, we talked about this the other day. Hulu seems to be making a habit of taking these old, outdated, tired franchises, Predator, Hellraiser, and making a new version of them that gets people excited about it. Prey was awesome. I haven't watched Hellraiser yet, but everybody I know who's watched Hellraiser says it's great. So that's good. So I don't know. Maybe Hulu should take a shot at Terminator. All right. Remember, Bulldog writes, just watched Prey, and I love that movie. It was so good. It was way better than I was expecting it to be. Way better than I was expecting it to be. I thought, like, wait a minute. Like, I was like a lot of other people. How is this little girl in the 1700s? There's no technology. How are they going to fight a predator? The way they structure the movie is so perfect and so great, so entertaining. I really had a great time with it, remember? All right. Next up, we have Christopher G, who writes, I have a YouTube channel about my love of Game of Thrones. Nice. Your advice, be known for what you love, not for what you hate, has really helped me. Thank you, John, as a 7+ year fan. Oh, thank you so much for that, man. Yeah, listen, when I've spoken at conferences and whatever, and I'm glad you're doing that, Christopher. When I've spoken at conferences or things like that, and people ask advice, there's a couple of general things I usually say. But one thing that I always say is this. If you're starting out in blogging or podcasting or YouTubing, one of the 3 or 4 bottom line key pieces of advice I try to give people is this. Whether you're blogging and podcasting and YouTubing about sneakers, about music, about cars, about sports, about movies, about television, about whatever. There's going to be things you like and going to be things you don't like. But do your blogging, podcasting, YouTubing in such a way that people are able to identify you by what it is you love. Too many again, there's the big hate movement right now where it's like the way they describe the dark side. Yoda describes the dark side. The dark side's not stronger, but it's easier. It's more seductive, right? You can get a lot of easy, simple, empty calorie clicks from hate stuff. Like just put, why this sucks in your headline and then have somebody with big glowing red eyes and tears and whatever in your thumbnail, and you're guaranteed to get X number of clicks. That's easy. And so I understand the what's the word I'm looking for? Seduction of it. I understand how that can be seductive. But at the end of the day, Are you going to be a YouTuber, or a blogger, or a podcaster where people go, let's say your name is Reggie. Oh, Reggie? Oh, yeah, I know Reggie. He's the guy who hates this. Is that how you want to be known? Or do you do your blogging, podcasting, and YouTubing that people go, oh, Reggie, yeah, that's the guy who loves this. So what the basic rule of thumb I say is this. Every once in a while, sit back and look at your YouTube channel. Right? Let me see if I can bring my YouTube channel up here. I'm not 100% sure I can. Yeah, okay. So I've got my YouTube channel up here. So let me see if this will come up. Yeah. So every once in a while, I'll go to your YouTube channel. And I'll just flip over to the videos thing, right? And I'll go through all my videos. And this is an exercise I do once in a while. Because once in a while, there's something that comes up that I don't like, and I talk about that I don't like it, and whatever, right? Go through. And if you ever get to the point where more than 1 out of every 3 of your videos is negative or about something you hate, I would suggest you need to take a step back and reevaluate how you do your stuff. Because now you're getting into territory where people say, oh yeah, you're the guy who hates this thing, or you're the guy who hates these people, or you're the guy who hates this or hates. You want to be known by what it is you love. And that's why every once in a while, I will do a personal audit. I will go through my videos and say, okay, if somebody were to just come to my channel and they're seeing the titles and everything in my videos and they're seeing what it is I talk about, are they going to identify me by what it is I like, or are they going to identify me by what I hate? Am I identified as a hate monger, a cancer, or am I identified as a fan? And even as a fan, there are going to be things you don't like. Like, for instance, what's a movie I just watched? I just watched The Munsters, right? Hated that movie. Hated it. So we talked about The Munsters the other day, and I expressed, wasn't for me. And then you know what I didn't do? I didn't do 9 more videos about how The Munsters suck. You know, my favorite comedian in the world, Joe Coy, my absolute number 1 favorite comedian in the world right now. He put out a movie called Easter Sunday. I wanted to like it so much. To me, it's the worst movie of the year. So you know what I did? I made a video review about it. I said, to me, it's the worst movie of the year. I think it's terrible. Then you know what I didn't do? I didn't make 9 more videos about how Easter Sunday sucks, about how Joe Coy is killing comedy, about how these types of things are ruining movies today. No. I made my review of the movie. I said I didn't like it. And then I moved on to talk about the things I do like. So, you know, some people ask me, well, John, why aren't you doing your She-Hulk after show anymore? Because I'm not doing the She-Hulk after show anymore because I've given up on it. You know, to me, it's a show that's not funny. So I have a choice. I can do the easy, lazy thing and become a hate channel for it, and put out new videos every week about why this week's episode of She-Hulk sucks, and why I hate this week's. I mean, I could do that every single week and try to attract in all the people who hate She-Hulk, but that's not what the fan community is supposed to be. That's not the fan community I want to be a part of. You know, once I've recognized I don't like this show, so instead of doing videos about it every week, I'm just not going to do videos about it every week. I've told my audience I don't like it. I've told my audience why I don't like it. I don't find it funny. And I've told my audience why I've moved on from it. Great. Now let's get back to talking about things we love. Let's talk about Andor. Let's talk about House of the Dragon. Let's talk about Rings of Power. And let's talk about the things that I do like. I'm not hiding that I didn't like She-Hulk. I made it very clear that I didn't like She-Hulk, and now it's time to move on. Or I can foster a toxic environment and say, let's keep talking about She-Hulk every single week about how it sucks. I don't want to do that. That's not the type of YouTube channel I want to be. It's not the type of YouTube environment that I want to exist. It's not the type of YouTube culture I want to exist. So anyway, I'm glad you're doing that, Christopher. Again, never be afraid to talk about the things you don't like. Just don't become identified by what it is you don't like. Become identified by what it is you love. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Obviously, it's a topic that's very dear to me because I love the fan community, and I hate seeing the state that the fan community is in right now. All right, next up, Connor B writes, I watched Smile yesterday and had very low expectations, but I was blown away. It's entered my top 5 of the year. Genuinely had me scared in parts. I recommend. Yeah, listen, I saw a big preview for it at CinemaCon, and I'm like, okay, that looks interesting. but it also looks like one of these quick, really cheap little throwaway movies, right? It kind of does. It looks like one of these little cheap horror movies that's going to come out and you'll instantly forget about it once you see it, and then it'll be gone. But I was really happy to hear the early reviews that came out for it, and now the reactions I see coming from people I know who have seen it, really enjoying it. I'm like, all right, this is good. So I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Connor. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, man. All right, next up. Jess Lath writes, I just wanted to say hi and hope you had a great day. Well, thank you so much. I am having a great day, man. Thank you for making it a little bit better. All right. Angel Leon writes, I watched See How They Run and I loved it. Yeah, that's one I've been really excited to see. I got to get on that one pretty quick. Aiden Foley writes, when Ant-Man 3 comes, I know this won't happen, but I'd love if there was a scene with many variants of Scott Lang, but one of them is Bobby... Bobby Newport has never worked a day in his life. I love the Bobby Newport character. For those who don't know what we're talking about, Paul Rudd had a recurring character on Parks and Rec called Bobby Newport. Love the character, loved him. I'm so over variants. I'm over variants. I'll be happy if they don't do a single variant. But I tell you what, Aiden, if they do have variants, and one of them's Bobby Newport, I would probably like that very much. Angel Leon writes, is Andor the best looking Star Wars thing? Compared to what? I mean, look, right now, it's great. The first half of the season is fantastic. I can't wait for you guys to see episodes 5 and 6. I haven't seen beyond episode 6, but it's really good so far. All right, Town Matt 12 writes, hey, John, first time tipping. Thank you so much, Town. Appreciate that very much, man. Long time viewer. It's my birthday today, so glad to catch your stream. Again, another person having a birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Town. May you have a great day and a great year ahead of yourself. And thank you so much, man, for spending a little bit of your day here with us. I appreciate that. And thanks for sending in a tip. It's appreciated very much, man. All right. Casey Mack writes, watched Hocus Pocus 2 today, and even though I would say it's not as great as the original, I did enjoy it. I listen, I respect that. We talked about this a little bit on the show this week. I'm not exactly a big fan of the original. I'm not even really sure why they made another one. But I know a lot of people, Casey. I know a lot of people like yourself that the original actually has a pretty special place in their hearts. I get that. It does. And I love Bette Midler. I do. I think it's a shame we haven't seen more of Bette Midler. But anyway, I'm glad you liked it, man. All right. Next up, Ben Raynor sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Ben, for supporting our channel on that level, dude, as you always do. Thank you so much, Ben. Ben writes, with the new name change, will you have a new theme song? And will there be new themes for the different songs? New themes for the different songs. Can't wait for the future of the channel. Yeah, so I don't know when it's going to happen. Like, I was thinking by the end of October, but we've run into some obstacles, not obstacles that can't be overcome, but we have run into some obstacles with our name change. We're going to be changing the name of the show and the name of the channel sometime in the near future. We've run into a couple of obstacles that we need to work around and stuff like that. I don't know that I'll change the music. You're talking about the opening music to the John Campea Show? I think even once we rename the show, I think we're going to keep the same music. I really do. I like that music. And music speaks to our souls, right? Music speaks to our souls. So like you hear a piece of music and it instantly, you know where you are. So even though the name is changing, I think I'm going to keep the music that we use. At least I think so. I haven't 100% decided that, but I'd be surprised at this point if I change the music, Ben. Great question. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that, man. All right. Next up, we've got Ryan Newsom. And Ryan Newsom writes, have you heard about Harrison Ford rumored for General Ross? What's your thoughts? Well, we talked about it on the John Campea Show the other day. We did a full segment on it. I don't know that it's true, but if it is true, it would be a great choice. If you want to see us have a big, full discussion about that, Ryan, go and check out the clip from the other day. But yeah, again, I don't know that it's true, but if true, that's a pretty damn good choice. There would be other good choices as well besides Harrison Ford, but Harrison Ford would definitely be one of the good ones. All right. Bond Presents writes, I just want to say thanks for all you do. Well, thank you for that, Bond. Been a follower since AMC. I've been working on sets for 7 years now. Nice. I think the film world is lucky to have a show that isn't just clickbait. Oh, well, thank you so much for that, man. Yeah, listen, first of all, I hate it when people use the term clickbait, because most of the time when people use the term clickbait, It's people who don't actually know what clickbait means. So whatever. Yeah, I hate clickbait myself. I do. Why this sucks? Why this is great? And actually, listen. Let's do a little audit here, shall we? Let's go over to my channel. What do we got? What are the titles? Okay. So titles. Armor Wars, Marvel switches it from a series to a movie. Okay, that's just a title of what is happening. What's the video about? Next one, Harrison Ford. There's the one I was telling you about. There's the Harrison Ford one. Harrison Ford to play Marvel's Thunderbolt Ross says report. That's our title is exactly what it is. Rings of Power Episode 6 review. New Jurassic World movies are on the way, says director. Again, just saying exactly what the story is. Could Marvel's Blade movie be canceled? That's exactly what our discussion was and what somebody was asking. Somebody asked the question in our, I believe that was our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day, and they wrote that, so that's what we made the title. Community movie ordered at Peacock, but without two major characters. That's exactly what it was. So yeah, I try to make sure that, again, I know I could probably get a lot more clicks if we used clickbait technique, but I try to just make the title of our videos, the titles of our videos are not very sexy. Okay, I know that. But I try to make the title of our videos just exactly what the story is. What is this video about? And if our video is about why, then we try to make why the title. At least that's what we try to do. So we do, and again, it's a good practice every once in a while to do a little audit like we just did. Start going through the titles of the videos. Are we utilizing clickbaity techniques, or are we just trying to put exactly what the video is about in the title? And listen, I'll be honest with you. There have been times that I've done a little self-audit like that, and I've realized, you know what? That title might be a little clickbaity, maybe. And so then we try to change it. But for the most part, we try to do that. So thank you for that, Bond Presents. I appreciate that very much. All right, next up, Esteban Riaz writes, "Hey, John, why are you such a homie? I just want to say thanks for the years of great content. You have a solid team, philosophy, and fun content." Oh, thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate that very much. Listen, end of the day, I am a movie fan that likes to talk about movies. That's it. And I think we do a pretty good job of gathering people who are pretty talented at talking about movies. And you know, I don't care whether you agree with my opinion or not. I'm actually quite happy if you don't agree with my opinion a lot of times. The fun thing about being a film fan is sometimes having those discussions about things we disagree with. You've heard me say this 100 times, I'll say it again. My job is not to say something that you agree with. That's not my job. It's also not my job to get you to agree with me. That's no fun. There's no fun there, and that is not my job anyway. My job is to explain and express my opinion in such a way that it helps you sharpen your own opinion, whether it's the same as mine or the complete opposite of mine. So if we are talking about Bond, No Time to Die, right? And let's say we're talking about a scene and I really like a scene, and I explain and express and illustrate why I like that scene. Well, if me explaining it, if I can explain it in such a way that it even sharpens for you more why you don't like the scene, then I've done my job. It's not my job to say the things you agree with, and it's not my job to get you to agree with me. It's my job to say things and present my opinion and information in such a way that it helps you sharpen your own opinion, whether it's the same as mine or completely different from mine. So if we can do that, then I consider it a good day. And we don't always succeed. We don't always do a good job. Sometimes we have bad shows, sometimes we have good shows, but on those days that we do that, those are days that I consider a win. All right, thanks for writing that in, Esteban. I appreciate that very much. Thanks for the kind words. All right, Jason Loricella writes, "Do you think She-Hulk will stick the landing?" No, because as a comedy, you got to be funny. I like, seriously, I don't care what they do in the last two episodes. They could have Thanos come back and Bruce comes back as Hulk, and we could finally get that Hulk-Thanos rematch that we've always wanted to. It doesn't matter. This is a comedy that's not funny. So, no, I don't think She-Hulk's going to stick the landing. I hope they do for the people still watching it. I hope they do. I hope they do a great job with the final two episodes, but like I said, I've kind of checked out. All right, Frederico Jordan writes, I really tried to give the She-Hulk a go after episode 1, but I kept getting disappointed. I feel like I let out a big sigh after every episode. Thank God for Andor. Yeah, I mean, Andor is firing on all cylinders. Well, John, Andor's not very funny either. No, Andor isn't very funny, but it's not a comedy. It's not trying to be funny, is it? Yeah, Andor is so impressively good. Just so impressively good. I cannot get over, like, this is the kind of Star Wars we've never had, and the kind of Star Wars we didn't know we needed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just been that fantastic, that good, and my God, we needed it. Coming off of, and listen, you may have liked Book of Boba Fett, and you may have liked Obi-Wan, and if you did, that's great. I did not. So for me, coming off of Book of Boba Fett, which was a disappointment to me, it had some good episodes, but, you know, at the end of the day, I ended up kind of being disappointed with it. Obi-Wan, which had some really good episodes, but at the end of the day, I ended up being kind of disappointed with it. Coming off of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, I really needed, as a fan, I really needed Andor to be good. And thank God it was. Thank God it was. All right. Thanks for that, Frederico. Next up, Mike's Movie Madness writes, another D23 leaked trailer. Man, they dropped the ball on security measures this time around. I mean, it's tough. You have thousands of people going into those auditoriums, and you have a lot of security monitoring for people holding out their cell phones, recording and stuff like that. But it's tough. It's if you got 5,000 people in that auditorium, even just one, even if you miss one out of the 5,000, it gets out and gets online. It's not easy. Listen, we talked about this on the show. What they're going to have to start doing at these conventions, whether it's Comic-Con or whether it's D23, is they're going to have to make you start checking your cell phone at the door. They do it at premieres. Many times, Ann and I have gone to a premiere. They've handed up these special bags that can block all the signals. They make you put your phone in the bag. They seal it, lock it, and then give you the bag. So you keep the bag on you, but you can't open it, and so you can't get to your phone. Then when you leave the premiere, you go to a station, they unlock it, take your phone out, and give you your phone back. They're going to have to start doing that for these conventions. I mean, if they don't want any leaks, if they don't want any of that stuff getting out, they're going to have to start taking the drastic measure. And honestly, it's not that big of a deal. You can live without your phone for 2 hours. They're going to have to take the drastic measure of start separating people from their phones. I mean, it's the only option. It's the only option. All right. Next up, we have, that was Mike's. Bobby Jackson writes, I admire Anne's focus. I wish I had her resolve when it comes to my own studies, but I'm too busy watching all of the greatest Campea content being put out there. Thank you for that very much. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, man. My wife is a dynamo. She really is. And I know I'm biased. I know I'm biased in saying that, but she really is an incredible dynamo. I'm going to do a little, just bring her up here on screen. That's my wife, Anne. She's currently the vice president of her company. She's the vice president of operations at her company. She has 4 degrees. She's going for her doctorate now. She's the dungeon master of our Dungeons and Dragons group. She plays Magic the Gathering. She's into comic book movies. She loves going to conventions. She's huge into cosplay. So yeah, to say that I I hit it pretty big. Yep, damn right I did. I like to remind her every day that she was lucky she found me. You know, just gotta keep the priorities there. She was lucky she found me. I'm the prize. Just look at me, everybody. Just look at me. All right. All right, next up. Tim Platt writes, tried watching Blonde, couldn't make it past 30 minutes, not because of anything graphic, but it was just too slow. You know, I haven't sat down to watch it yet because Anne wants to watch it too, so I got to wait till both of us have some time to sit down and watch Blonde. It's weird, and maybe there's an argument to be made that sometimes art is supposed to be like this. That sometimes art should be a bit divisive, sometimes. And it's funny when you read like one critical analysis of Blonde is this thing is brilliant. It dissects the human condition and the human experience, and it exposes this and blah, blah, blah. And it's brilliant filmmaking to do it and blah, blah, blah. Then you read another reaction to it. It was this thing is just cheap, gratuitous, whatever. It's just appealing to the lowest common denominator and blah, blah. And sometimes stark art should have that kind of reaction from people. And I'm very, very curious to see what kind of reaction I'm going to have from Blonde. Tim, I'm just curious to see. So I don't know myself, but it's probably going to be one of those movies I'm able to watch once and probably not watch again. But I'm going to be really curious to see what I think about it when I have a chance to do that. All right, next up, we are going to Film Geeks, who writes, "Happy Saturday, John. What's your top 3 movies to watch to get in the spooky movie mood?" Well, I don't do top 3, top 5, top 10 questions. Just so you know, I will tell you what my 2 favorite horror movies of all time are. My number 1 favorite horror movie of all time is American Werewolf in London, not to be confused with American Werewolf in Paris. That movie sucks. But American Werewolf in London, and I was just talking about it, The Descent. Those are my 2 favorite horror movies. All right, My Comic Planet writes, "Hey, John, thanks for the live stream. Thank you. My favorite team, the Georgia Bulldogs, are getting destroyed right now, so I need the distraction." You know, I checked in on the score before I started, and I'm like, I think they were losing 13-0. Okay, I try not to do this during the show, but now I got up Georgia football score. Now I got to look it up. They're not getting destroyed. They're losing by 3 points. As of right now, it's 22. Now, granted, it's an unranked team. They're playing an unranked Missouri Tigers, and they are the number 1 team in the nation right now. But they're only losing by a field goal. So come on, man. Come on. They're not getting destroyed. All right. Next up. Ben Burgess writes, "Ant-Man 3 trailer leaked in decent quality. Do you think they maybe release it sooner now that it's out there? Thanks for the stream, John. Your channel is a safe haven for us movie lovers and nerds. Bring on the filthy." Well, thanks so much for that, Ben. Yeah, listen, they've been leaking everything left, right, and center. Like the Indiana Jones thing leaked. I can't remember what the other thing that leaked was. We just talked about the other leak the other day. Oh, it was Secret Wars. The Secret Wars trailer leaked, the Indiana Jones trailer leaked, and now the Ant-Man 3 trailer is leaked. By the way, Silly Goose just became a channel member. Thank you, Silly Goose, for becoming a channel member. And now Ant-Man. I mean, when we've asked the same question with Secret Wars and with Indiana Jones. Should they release it now? And my answer has been the same every time. Yes, they should just release it now, but their action is going to be the same. They're not going to. They should. They totally should. Like once that Secret Invasion trailer leaked, they totally like Secret Invasion. Yeah, once the Secret Invasion trailer leaked, they should have just put it out. Once the Indiana Jones trailer leaked, they should have just put it out. And if the Ant-Man trailer is leaked, they should just totally put that out. But they're not going to. You know, Disney is filled with some very, very smart people, but sometimes they can be really idiotic at the same time. The absolute smart move for them to make right now is just to release it in full glorious quality, so that's people's first experience with it. But again, I don't think they're going to. So, but they should, Ben. They totally should. All right. Let's see. Oh, and I said Secret Invasion. I meant Loki. Sorry about that. It was the Loki trailer that leaked. Yeah, so Loki, Indiana Jones, and that. Yeah, I think I said Secret Invasion. Sorry about that. All right, Lee Crow sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that, man. And Lee Crow writes, what does Lee Crow have to say? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get this just squared up a little better. Okay. Lee Crow writes, hi, one thing that has surprised me with House of the Dragon is so much talk of the prophecy and White Walkers. There really hasn't been much talk of it at all, to be honest with you. A couple, like 2 very brief conversations just between Viserys and his daughter Raynor. That's it. It really hasn't been brought up much at all. But anyway, one thing that surprised me with House of the Dragon is so much talk of the prophecy and the White Walkers. With the mixed reaction to that in Game of Thrones, do you think this new Jon Snow show will revisit that and make a bigger deal? I mean, I don't know. I'm not even, listen, I'll be honest with you, I'm not even 100% sure that they're going to make this Jon Snow show. I want them to, because unlike a lot of you, I properly loved season 8 of Game of Thrones. Oh, you hate hearing that, don't you? Oh, it just burns you inside to hear me say that. But it's true. It's damn true. Season 8 of Game of Thrones is great. Won more Emmys than any other show in television history. It was a perfect wrap-up to the series. The one complaint that I do agree with everybody was that there was no bloody excuse for it to be as short of a season as it was. Some of the problems that it had did have to do with the fact that everything was so compacted in just a couple of episodes. That was a dumb move, I agree. But I was very satisfied. Ooh, you hate hearing me say that. But I was very satisfied with that show. I thought it was great. I thought it was great. But that being said, I would love to see a Jon Snow series that follows up that show and moves forward. And I know all the reports are saying they're going to. I have my doubts, though. I have my doubts. But, regardless, at least all of us can come together in harmonious joy and unison in saying we're loving House of the Dragon. I mean, whether you're like me and you loved the end of Game of Thrones, maybe you're like a lot of other people who really didn't like the end of Game of Thrones, whatever camp we come from, we all seem to be enjoying House of the Dragon. And House of the Dragon has been fantastic. Here's hoping that if they do a Jon Snow series, that it's on the same level as House of the Dragons. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. All right, thanks for writing that in, Lee. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Evan Coburn writes, "Hey, John, sending some love to you and the crew. Thank you so much. My home in Fort Myers, ooh, hang in there, man, got destroyed by Ian. I have been watching from my phone lately. I have been watching, listen, we very, very rarely talk about real world events on our show because we're here to talk about movies. We're a movie show, right? We're talking about movies and TV show. We're an escapism sort of thing. We come here to get away from the crap going on in the real world a lot. But to all of our film-loving brothers and sisters like yourself, Evan, down in the Florida area and the surrounding states that are now getting ready to get hit, all of our best to you guys. I'm glad you got your phone service, you're able to watch. I just, all of our best to you guys. Hang in there. And we've already had some conversations in the offices of the John Campea Show about how we can get involved, about trying to raise some money. So you'll probably see us on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at some point there, introducing some things that we're going to try to do to help raise money for the people who are having to deal with all that crap down there. So hang in there, man. We're glad you're able to be with us there, and all of our best to you and your loved ones, my friend. All right, next up, Bobby Jackson writes, I rarely buy collectibles, but I had a hard time when it comes to certain Transformers toys. I just bought the Alpha Trion / Orion packs double pack, and they came out for pre-order yesterday. Who made them? I'll keep my eye on the live chat here, Bobby. But ordered from who? Are these from Hot Toys, Sideshow Collectibles? Are they from Diamond? Are they Hasbro? They're from Hasbro, my wife's old company, Hasbro. Yeah, I'd have a hard time resisting those too. But if they're from Hasbro, then they shouldn't be ludicrously expensive. Like, it's once they start coming out from like Sideshow and things like that, that's when those can get really, really dumb expensive. But here's hoping it's not terribly expensive, Bobby. Hey, listen, a good collectible can look awfully good on your desk, man. It really can. I don't get into them as much as, say, Robert does, because I like not being broke. Because I would go broke if I bought them the way that Rob did. But I do like having the odd one on my desk that looks pretty good. All right. Next up, My Comic Planet writes, I saw that James Gunn got married this weekend. Yes, and happy nuptials to James Gunn. He married his longtime girlfriend, one of the stars of Peacemaker. I can't remember her name right now. Forgive me for that. But happy to James Gunn. He truly interacts with people online. He even responded to a tweet I made to him once. Just super awesome person. Yeah, I have loved James Gunn since Slither. I've been a massive fan of James Gunn since Slither, which I personally still think is his best film. I love Slither. If you've never seen Slither, watch Slither. Nathan Fillion stars in it. Michael Rooker. It's insanely good. It's so freaking good. And James Gunn's ex-wife, Jenna Fisher. Is that her from The Office? Is that her name? Jenna Fisher? I think it's Jenna Fisher. She's in as well. Best movie. And then I had my first chance to meet James Gunn was when him and Kevin Feige and Chris Pratt came into my studio. I got to sit down and do like an hour-long Q&A with them about stuff. He was absolutely fabulous. I've had good opportunity to actually write back and forth with James Gunn a little bit, just for some stuff. Just a super, super guy. I'm not going to pretend like I know him on a personal level. I totally don't. I'm just saying as a fan, with the interactions I've had the opportunity to have with him as a director, you couldn't meet a nicer, sweeter guy. Like seriously, he has this pure sweetness about him that is just hard not to be a fan of the guy. And I'm super happy for his marriage. All right. Thanks for that, My Comic Planet. Next up. We've got DeOne Sense. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Derp Jones writes, favorite Street Fighter character. What's the name? Is it Dualism? The one I used to like to play. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name. I don't know if I can remember it right. Is it Dualism? Dualism? You guys knew who I'm talking about, right? Like no, it wasn't Blanca, but the guy with the super, super long, you can stretch out the... Yeah, see that Dhalsim, but how do you pronounce that? Dualism? Dualism? I don't know the proper pronunciation from it. A lot of people like Chun-Li. Ken was a favorite as well. Dualism, Dalzim. Bobby Jackson is saying the way it's pronounced is Dalzim. Okay, Dalzim, whatever. That was my favorite character to play in the game. All right, guys, listen. I am going to take, we've been going a little bit over an hour now. My cup runneth dry. So I'm going to take 2 or 3 minutes here. I'm going to run. I'm going to feed my dogs quick because I was supposed to feed my dogs at 5 and it's now 7:30 and I totally forgot. So they've been scratching at my door. I think they're complaining. So I'm going to run, refill my drink, feed my dogs really quick. Give me 2 or 3 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves and I will be right back. guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I went and got myself a drink and fed my dogs, who were apparently very hungry, because I forgot to feed them before we started. All right, let's get back over here and get back to your questions, shall we? We're going to pick things up here with Coley Woley, who writes, I really watched The Shining earlier, and wow, I thought it was okay on my first watch, but for some reason it hit me. I do think it's a masterpiece now. Yeah, listen, I'll be honest with you. The first Shining is not really one of my favorites. I like it. Don't get me wrong. Like, in the world of thumbs up or thumbs down, The Shining for me is a thumbs up movie. I enjoy it. But it's not like one of those movies that I would go, oh my God, The Shining, so amazing. The performances in it are incredible. By the way, the sequel that Ewan McGregor starred in, Dr. Sleep, I thought that was a terribly underrated movie. I thought Dr. Sleep was really good. I don't know why it didn't do better at the box office. I really don't. It was a great companion video, I think, to The Shining. But yeah, Shining's a good, I like Shining. I like The Shining. By the way, have any of you guys, I'll look in the live chat, have any of you guys ever seen the trailer remix of Shining that make it look like a romantic comedy, like an emotional romantic comedy? Have you ever seen, do you know the trailer I'm talking about? Where they play Peter Gabriel's Salisbury Hill, doon, 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 Shining. Have you ever seen that? If you have not seen it, I highly, highly, highly recommend you look up that trailer. Because it's The Shining. It's totally The Shining, but the trailer's done in such a way that make it feels like an emotional, heartwarming, romantic comedy. Go and check it out. It's absolutely hilarious. It came out years ago, but you should be able to find it no problem. All right. Next up, we've got My Comic Planner writes, Blonde is #1 on Netflix, but for all the wrong reasons. Tremendous backlash. You planning on watching it, John? Absolutely. But guess what? At the end of the day, #1's #1. It doesn't matter what the reason it's #1 is. #1, is #1. And now listen, I'm saying this to somebody who hasn't seen it yet. Okay? Take this with a grain of salt, that I'm saying what I'm about to say as somebody who has not seen it yet. I will never understand backlash to art. I'll never understand backlash to art. I understand liking something. I understand not liking something. I will never understand being offended by art. I'm not bashing on anybody who does. I'm not. I'm just saying, for me personally, I will never understand that. I will never understand backlash. Like, if you don't like something, just say, I didn't like that, and move on. Again, I am saying that as somebody who has not seen the movie. So let's see if I'm still singing that same tune after I've seen the movie or not, because I haven't yet. But yeah, #1's #1, right? Win's a win. That's just kind of the mentality I have. All right, next up. Mike's Movie Madness writes, I saw Don't Worry Darling, and John, they broke your cardinal rule. They clearly changed the script to fit an actor, or rather his weak accent. I mean, you don't know that, and I don't know that. For all we know, everything the character does and everything the character says is exactly the same as it would have been if Shia LaBeouf played it. I mean, you don't know that they, I don't know that they did or didn't either. But if they did, you're right. You totally shouldn't that. The actors are there to serve the characters. And if you've got an actor that can't properly serve the character, then you've cast the wrong actor. You need to go out and get the right actor. You don't change the character to fit the actor. You get the actor that best fits the character. But that should be an absolute rule that most of them should have. All right, let's see. A fan of Peanuts writes, I saw Blonde, extremely hard to watch, but very good. Didn't feel exploitative, thankfully. Also saw Dahmer starring Evan Peters. Give him the Emmy now. Heard nothing but great things about Dahmer. I have not watched it yet myself, but I'm going to try to watch Dahmer. I mean, I got started on it, but I have not watched the series. I need to. But I'm hearing a lot of the same thing. And yeah, and Fan Peanuts, like, this is a great example. We were talking earlier, right? I've heard from a lot of people that have watched blonde, and really, really like it. Like from an artistic point of view, everybody's saying it's a very difficult thing to watch, but saying it's handled beautifully and all this kind of stuff. And then I hear from a lot of people saying like a lot of anger, a lot of backlash, right? So it's going to be, I'm very interested to see what I'm going to feel, how I'm going to feel about it. I'm very interested to see how I'm going to feel about it when I do get around to watching it. All right. Next up, Alberto Macias writes, "Hey John, do you think Kang the Conqueror has his eyes set on America Chavez?" You know what? I haven't thought about it. Okay. It would actually make sense when you understand her ability and her power to be able to, without anything else, just freely move in between realities. That would make her a very big prize. The problem is, though, if that becomes ultimately what Kang is after, then doesn't that just become a carbon copy of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Like, haven't they already done the movie where the villain in the film is hunting down America Chavez because they want her ability to be able to transport between realities? Like, they've already kind of done that. So it's not a bad theory, Alberto. It's not a bad theory at all. But I think it might be a mistake because they've already done that. They've already done that in one of the movies they just did. But I don't know. Let's keep our eyes on it and see how that comes into play. All right. Thanks for that, man. Nicholas Rios writes, "Hi, do you think Wolverine will break the fourth wall?" No, I don't think they'll. They'll leave that to Deadpool, and Deadpool will do it very well. My Comic Planet writes, "The Social Network was released 12 years ago today. Really, truly one of the surprise hits of 2010. I loved that movie. I thought that movie was great. And I still can't believe it wasn't until weeks after I saw the movie that I found out that the twin brothers, and I'm forgetting the names of the twin brothers, but that the twin brothers weren't actually played by twin actors. It was my first exposure to Armie Hammer. Was that movie. The Winklevoss. Thank you, Amy. It was the Winklevoss twins. Little something. I'm not going to tell you who. One, I'll let you guys burn on this. Depending on how long back you followed my career, one of the people who has worked for me dated one of the Winklevoss twins. I'll let you wonder and speculate and guess all you want. I'll never say who. But out of the many people who've worked with me going all the way back to the AMC days, one of them had dated one of the Winklevoss twins. And I bet none of you will guess who. But anyway, and I'm not going to tell you who it was anyway. I'm not going to tell you who it was. But anyway, getting back to this. So it wasn't until well after I saw the movie when somebody mentioned to me, it's like, you do realize that the guy playing the Winklevoss twins is just one guy. It wasn't twin actors. It was just one guy playing both roles. I'm like, no. That was clearly two different actors playing. No, it was one actor, this guy named Armie Hammer. That was really my first exposure to Armie Hammer. And dudes, I loved Armie Hammer as an actor. Like, hearing all the crap coming out, it really does break my heart. And I don't know what's true and what isn't true, but just the very fact that there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things, and it really does break my heart because I was big fan. Big fan of Armie Hammer as an actor. All right, let's keep going on here. Next up. But 12 years, my goodness. Suthius sends in a super chat, and it says that's it, but I don't believe that can be it. I feel like there were more that came in. Let me just go back and double check to make sure we're not missing out on anybody here. Let's see here. Do I think Wolverine break the raw? Okay. My Comic Plant, there's one we missed there. So Christian Bale wants to be in a Star Wars movie. What do you think about this news? Very interesting. And listen, it's going to be one of the topics on Monday, so I don't want to go too much into it right now, My Comic Planet. But but yes, this to me is very, very interesting, and we will talk about it on Monday. Tom Gillard, I don't know why. Yeah, thing didn't pick up everybody's. Peter in Deadpool 3. Oh, like Peter Parker, Spider-Man? No, zero chance. Well, the reason I'll say zero chance is also because this is like, why? You don't need them. You don't need Spider-Man or Peter Parker in a Deadpool 3. Unless you're talking about Piotr, unless you're talking about Colossus. If you're talking about Colossus, but then you got to spell his name differently. But if you're talking about Peter Parker, then I don't see why you would need him in there. Let's see here. Next up, it's really weird that this thing did not pick up everybody's questions. This is why we've got to double check these days. Okay, not everyone, this is Vader, says not everyone Star Wars fan is into HBO. Problem for Andor. No, listen, not every show is for everybody, right? Not every Star Wars fan liked The Force Awakens. Not every Star Wars fan liked Rebels. Not every Star Wars, there's other than the original trilogy, not every Star Wars fan likes anything. No Star Wars thing that has come out since after Empire Strikes Back has all Star Wars fans like. All Star Wars fans like the original Star Wars. All Star Wars fans like Empire Strikes Back. Not even all Star Wars fans like Return of the Jedi, even though it's the best of the Star Wars movies. Just is. Matter of opinion, of course, but to me it just is. But nothing Star Wars has ever put out does all Star Wars fans like. So yeah, for sure, not all Star Wars fans are going to like Andor because it's in that more heavy, realistic, adult style, more like an HBO show. But there is nothing that Star Wars fan can put out. There is nothing. And by the way, Empire Strikes Back is kind of more like an HBO show. But I'm saying nothing Star Wars will ever put out again will all Star Wars fans like. It's just never going to happen. So no, this isn't a problem for Andor at all. Cash writes, are you planning on watching Bros at the theater? I wasn't because the trailers just didn't look funny to me. And just look at She-Hulk for how I respond to comedies that aren't funny. Nothing about Bros looked funny to me, but a number of my staff have seen it. The critic reviews, the audience reviews have all been super sky high. So yes, I'm going to go see Bros in the theater. And I really like, I keep freezing on his name. The guy who did the voice if he's from Parks and Rec, Eichner. Wait a minute, I'll get it. I know you guys are saying in the super chat, Billy Eichner? Is that how you say his name? Billy, I'm going to go with Eichner. I think it's Eichner. Anyway, I love him in Parks and Rec. I even liked him in some movies that I didn't like. I just really like him. But again, it was just, I saw the previews they did it at CinemaCon. It's like, none of that made me grin. It didn't look funny. But everybody's saying it's hilarious, so I am probably going to get a chance to go watch it. Let's see here. We had that one from Alberto. We got that one from Fan of Peanuts. Saw Don't Worry, Darling. Saw the question shunning. Blonde is number one. Favorite Street Fighter character. Keep it the good work. All right. Oh, here's another one that we didn't get at one point. Dr. Bright. Well, first of all, Del1 says, keep doing the good work. Thank you, Del1. I appreciate that. Dr. Bright says, how's your weekend going, man? My weekend is going great. My Comic Planet writes, Trevor Noah is leaving The Daily Show. Yeah, I heard about that. Did his new girlfriend, Dua Lipa, change his mind that fast? LOL. I didn't know he was dating Dua Lipa. Good for him. It's funny. Trevor Noah is a really interesting situation because I remember when they first brought him on, it was like one of Jon Stewart's final episodes, and they introduced everybody to Trevor Noah, his replacement, in a very weird way. Like, nobody had ever heard of Trevor Noah. And they had him come out on set as Jon Stewart was doing the show, and he was like, had a tape measure, like he was like getting ready to move in. And it was a weird way to introduce him. He turned into a really good host for that show. And he's done it for 7 years. Like, I don't know about you. I've never stayed in one job for 7 years. So he's been at it for 7 years. And I think he's really just looking to back to being a stand-up comedian. And he's going to be very successful at that. But I don't think him dating Dua Lipa, which, by the way, again, good on him for dating Dua Lipa. I doubt she had anything to do with it. Okay, let's see. Next up is Richard, I think. Yeah, Richard writes, "Hey, John, do you have any plans to upload the latest Best Movie, Worst Movie episodes onto the podcast formats? Thanks, love your show." Yeah, we never did get around to doing that. We just did another season of Best Movie, Worst Movie, and we never did put them up on the podcast feed. But yes, Ray is going to get on those. He will transfer all those over to the podcast, to the Best Movie, Worst Movie podcast feed, so those will be going up. Thank you for reminding me, Richard. Let's see. Quinn Udi writes, predictions for Worst Picture nominees at the Razzies. The Razzies are not meant to be taken seriously, right? It's a fun, it's in jest, it's a joke. So, I mean, I think Easter Sunday has to be considered one of them. The Munsters will probably be considered one of them. But honestly, other than that, don't know. Again, the Razzies are for fun. They're not meant to be taken too seriously. Let's see. Marley Jehovah writes, "Hey, John. So glad you're doing this tonight. My washing machine stopped working. Oh, no. And I'm at a random neighborhood laundromat, bored out of my mind." Dude, I remember back when Ann and I lived in an apartment in Burbank. Our apartment did have laundry facilities, but it was a little sketchy. Like, sometimes the washing machines would work, sometimes they didn't, and we just didn't like using it. So we would often take our laundry to her parents' house, but sometimes we would go and use a laundromat. And man, I hated going to the laundromat. I was bored out of my gourd. I would sit down there, try to play some mobile games on my phone, whatever, but I'm with you. I hated having to go to the laundromat. I mean, thank God for laundromats. They provide a terrific service. Thank God that they're there. But yeah, I used to hate going to them, man. So I'm glad we can be there for you. All right. Let's see here. What else have we missed here? We did that one. Ant-Man 3 trailer we did. Oh, here's another one that didn't get picked up the first time through. Lars Lovinson writes, "Hasbro is going to be doing a line of indie figures. That's more my price point than Hot Toys." Oh, no, listen, I completely agree. I have not bought a new Hot Toy. The last new Hot Toy I bought was when I was producing the Awesome-tacular show with Jeremy Johns for Verizon Go 90. Do you guys remember that? That lasted one season, but I don't know if you guys remember, but Verizon used to have their own network called the Go 90 network. And they ordered a show from us. We pitched them a show, Awesome-tacular with Jeremy Johns. And we pitched them this show. And I was the executive producer of the show. And I'll tell you, I am very, very proud of that show. Jeremy should be very, very proud of that show. He was great on it. And I thought we did a very, very good show and whatever. But yeah, I remember one of the episodes, Jeremy and I got in a car. We drove. Oh, you know what? That wasn't even for Awesome-tacular. I take that back. That wasn't for Awesome-tacular. I totally am not remember. Okay, so it was with Jeremy. I was doing it with Jeremy, but we did a pilot called Collider Unboxed. Do any of you remember that? We did a pilot for Collider Unboxed. And we did, I think, 1 or 2 episodes of it. But every episode, the idea was me and Jeremy would go to a different collectibles store somewhere, give a little tour of that collectibles store, and then me and Jeremy would each buy a Hot Toy, right? And I think that was the last time I ever bought one. And I think that might have been my Jor-El. I think it was my Jor-El toy. It might have been a different one that I got. But that's honestly the last time I bought one. I mean, they're just too expensive. And my problem is, if I buy one, then I'm going to buy 4, right? And they're just way too expensive for that. So I've got to be very, very careful about how many of those I actually buy. All right. Yeah, and so you're right. For me as well, Hot Toys or Hasbro is far more my price range. Let's see if there's any others we missed. Bobby's, we had that. We got that one. Tim's, we got. Filmed this one we got. Do I think She-Hulk will stick the landing? We had that one. Oh, okay. Let's see this. This is one I don't think we had. Cosmix writes, just hearing Kang, you're an Avenger, have I killed you before? Gives me goosebumps. Jonathan Major will knock it out of the park. I have not watched the Ant-Man 3 trailer. I will, but I have not watched the Ant-Man 3 trailer. So I haven't seen it yet myself. But if that's one of the lines Kang says in it, that is an awesome line for him to say. That is a premium clutch line for him to say. So I will look forward to hearing that. All right. Mike's Movie Madness writes, I'm about to see Avatar in IMAX 3D for the first time. Kind of glad I waited for the re-release to see it like this. That is you are seeing it the right way. It's awesome when you get to see a truly cinematic movie the way movies are meant to be watched in a cinematic environment, in a movie theater. So that's awesome, man. I hope you have a great time watching it. Not a top 10 greatest movie of all time for me, but truly a wonderful cinematic experience. All right, let's see. That Ryan one we got. Bond Presents one we got. Right now, just going through to try to get, because sometimes this thing picks up some of the questions and sometimes it misses some. So I'm just going through it right now to see if we missed any. Elmst writes, thoughts on the Nosferatu casting. Is that the one with Skarsgård? Is that the one? Or was that for something else? Is this the one where they cast Skarsgård, like one of the Skarsgård kids and like Johnny Depp's daughter or something? I think it is. Okay, yeah. So you guys in live chat are saying, yeah, that's the one. All right. I'll be honest with you. I don't think Johnny Depp's daughter is that good of an actress. That doesn't mean she can't become a great one. Okay, I'm not saying, oh, she'll never be. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying right now, she's getting roles because of her name. Because I just don't think she's that good right now. Then again, I never thought Channing Tatum was any good. And then he got good, and now he's like one of my favorites. I love seeing Channing, but there was a long time that I didn't think Channing Tatum was any good. So maybe she can be that as well. But I mean, yeah, the Skarsgård kid is very good. So yeah, I mean, do they need to make another Nosferatu right now? Maybe, but it's interesting. Let's see how it works out. I hope it turns out great. Let's see here. We got that one. Hocus Pocus we got. Town Matt we already got. Magic K. Oh, we haven't seen this one. Okay, Magic K writes, Cineplex is going to have a Black Adam The Rock Q&A on October 13th in Toronto, Canada. I might have to get myself on a plane and get up there for that. I'm sure it's already sold out, but if anybody has lines on tickets to that event, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. I will probably pay whatever I need to pay to get that. Because when does it come out? It comes out like a week after that, right? But a screening of it with The Rock there in Toronto, that gives me an excuse to get up home and go visit family in a couple of weeks. I'll tell you what, if any of you have a line on tickets for that thing, write to me at john@thejohncampeashow.com, because I would love to go up there for that. I would totally love to go up there for that. I mean, maybe I should see if they're going to have one in LA or not, but I would totally go up there for that. Let's see here. That we had a great day. Saw that. Saw Smile yesterday. Have a YouTube channel. Did that one. Okay, I think we're all caught up. I think we're all caught up. I think we had every question we got there. Okay, so I'll tell you what we're going to do, guys. What we're going to do right now is, after I just have a second, okay, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to just go over and pick out a couple of questions out of the live chat and see what you guys are saying in the live chat over there. So I'm looking at you guys live chat. If any of you got any questions you want to ask me, Okay, Andrew Baxter said, "Hey John, did you see my tweet? Probably not. I never see people's tweets that tweet at me. I never see them. Did you see my tweet about the tattoo and guest appearance suggestion? Also, I'm eating mozzarella sticks with sour cream for dinner. The revolution has begun. Damn right. But no, I did not. I did not see your tweet because I very rarely see tweets that people send at me, unfortunately. Let's see here. Aries Pjork is writing, will Superman be in Black Adam? I certainly hope he is, but my guess is he won't. But I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Hosea XCI writes, John, do you think Alex Pierre beats Izzy at UFC 281? No. I mean, he beat him before, but that was another lifetime ago. So, no, I don't think he does. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see. Let's see here. Jai CSC is saying it's missing my super chat. Well, I'm going through Jai, and I don't see. Let me do a quick search here. Let me just do a quick search here. JAICSC. Okay, I found yours, Jai. I found yours. It got, again, I don't know why it's not picking up on all of them. But Jai CSC wrote, why do studios still shy away from back-to-back productions of their franchises / known IP movies, i.e. Lord of the Rings? Do they see it as too high a gamble up front? Yeah, that's 100% why. Listen, you may think that your movie's going to be a hit, but how many times have movies come out that studios and even the audience thought was going to be a hit and ended up tanking? You are taking a huge risk by shooting back-to-back. Now, I think there are some that it's worth the gamble. Dune should have shot back-to-back. But again, I understand. I mean, that's a huge financial roll of the dice. So I can't really fault them. But here's where I really don't understand. It's when you've done a first movie, and now you're looking at doing 2 and 3. Well, if you've already done the first movie and you've proven that, no, this movie's a hit, people love this series, well, then I think you should have an easier time greenlighting 2 and 3 so you can shoot them back to back. You'll save a lot of money if you can shoot it back to back. But I totally get it for a brand new franchise. Even though I think they should have shot Dune 1 and 2 together, I get them wanting to play it a little safer because you are risking an awful lot of money, man. You are risking an awful lot of money when you're doing that. So that's why. It's easy for us as fans to say what studios should do with their money. But when it's your money, it's tougher. It's a lot tougher. Let's see. Next M. Ag Enot writes, hey, John, now that it's being rumored that Blade will be delayed until 2023, do you think it can still meet that release date, or will it likely be postponed until 2024 or canceled altogether? I think it is more likely it gets pushed out of 2023. From what we're hearing, they don't even have a workable script yet. And you ain't going to be shooting until you have a workable script. Hell, they don't even have a director right now. And we're getting to the end of the year. We're in October. So right now, can a movie come out in a year that does not have a completed script and does not have a director right now? If they do, I'll be impressed. But I don't see it happening right now, man, to be honest with you. I don't see it happening. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Roomley is writing, hey, John, I'm a big fan. Thoughts on Cyberpunk's Edge Runner on Netflix? Haven't watched it. Don't really have any plans to watch it, to be honest with you. Jasperin is writing, thoughts, who's one of our channel members, writes, thoughts on Cabinet of Curiosities. Guillermo del Toro is grinding them passion projects. Listen, all I know is that the trailer was fascinating. Chris Carr would not watch it because eye violence, but I thought the trailer for it was fascinating. I love the concept. I mean, listen, the concept of an anthology horror series is not new, but being overseen by Guillermo del Toro, that's very, very intriguing. It's very intriguing, to say the least. Let's see here. Positional Football writes, John, would you be excited for the upcoming Ahsoka show more if it has an Andor tone and feel to it? I don't think an Ahsoka show should have an Andor tone. I don't think that listen, too many people look for formula, right? Oh, this tone in Andor worked. Put that tone on everything. Well, no, I don't think Ahsoka fits the Andor tone. Ahsoka more fits the Mandalorian tone. So I think that's what they should be doing. And listen, I've never liked the Ahsoka Tano character. I think she's a waste of a character. I really do. But Rebels got me a little bit more invested in Ahsoka, and then Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka has won me over. So I'm already excited about that show, just because of Rosario Dawson. So I'm already very excited for that show. Oh, by the way, G Money Money just sends in a super chat badge for just to be supportive. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. Kenny G saying, John, watch Clone Wars. Oh, I did. I think Clone Wars sucks. I know. Clone Wars had its moments. It had even a couple of seasons. Overall, I found Clone Wars to be, let's put it this way. I thought Rebels was far superior to Clone Wars. I thought Rebels was, and it was made by all the same people. Dave Filoni did it. I thought Rebels was really miles ahead of Clone Wars, but that's just me. All right, let's see. We'll take one or two more here. Vader Voice will say, "What about the final season? If you're talking about the one with Yoda, I thought that final season was garbage. Straight up. Or are you talking about the new one they did on Disney Plus? The new one they did with Disney Plus is a tale of two different things. The first half of it was garbage. It had all the stuff to do with the Bad Batch. I thought that was utter garbage. I thought it was terrible. The second half of that last season on Disney Plus, that bonus season, if you will, the second half of that was more intriguing. I actually liked the second half of the final season of Clone Wars, like that bonus season of Clone Wars they gave us. That I did like. I'll say it, I liked it. Not enough that it changed my opinion about the overall Clone Wars series, but I did like that second half of that final stretch that they did. All right, guys, and that'll do it for tonight's. Where we got? We went we're getting close to 2 hours that we've done this, so we will wrap things up here. That'll do it for tonight's installment of John Campea After Dark. Thank you so much, guys, for just coming to hang out as we talk about the things that we love, movies and movie news and TV and streaming and all sorts of good stuff. Guys, thanks so much for being here and making this a part. Listen, don't forget, John Campea Show returns on Monday. Guys, do me a favor. The ways you can help the channel is by little things like clicking the thumbs up button, leaving comments, subscribing to the channel. All that kind of stuff helps the channel out. So thank you to all of you guys for supporting our channel in that way. And thank you to all of you who sent in the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. For those of you who are channel members, heads up, there's going to be a open town hall meeting for channel members only, either on Monday or Tuesday. I haven't totally decided yet, but we'll announce it on the John Campea Show. Just want to let you guys as channel members know to keep your eyes open for that. And yeah, that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. I'll see you again on Monday. And until then, my friends, where am I pointing? I'm pointing this way. Bye-bye.